I'm Chelsea Handegan. I'm an interior designer based in Charleston, and this is the home that I share with my husband Jack, our daughter Hattie, our cat, and our dog Goose. This home was built in 1854 by an architect named Edward C. Jones, and we occupied the top 2 floors of this row home, and then there's a separate pied-à-terre downstairs. And it has a lot of the original architectural details. We have the original plaster moldings, we have the original fireplace details. I had some history with this house because I had lived next door on the ground unit for 10 years, and that is where I lived during college. That's where Jack and I met, and then we ended up getting engaged there. The fact that I had a history with this street and knew all of the neighbors made me really inclined to move back here. We had this really great personal foundation. Because the house had been a rental for 30 years, it was in pretty poor state, but what we didn't realize when we bought it was that we would have to redo all of the wiring and plumbing. So it was a pretty extensive renovation that we had to do and did not exactly anticipate. Even though this room is pretty big and could certainly hold more furniture and larger furniture than it has, I wanted a really small dining table that was meant for the 3 of us so we could have intimate breakfasts and dinners as a family each day. I found this pair of plaster busts at Casa Gusto, and I wanted them to hang on either side of the fireplace in here, but because the walls are so big, I knew that they needed to be layered with something. So we had these velvet remnants hung from the brass rails so that the bust could hang on top. This is my favorite Gustavian piece that we have in the house. This is where I hold all of our dinnerware and our glassware, as well as the items for our bar. It's such a catch-all for all of the things that we need to entertain. This is our teeny tiny kitchen. Instead of putting the kitchen where our dining room is, we decided to keep it where it is and to maintain the original footprint of the house, which meant that we have a New York-sized kitchen, but for us, it does what it needs. This room initially, when we bought the house, had some 1950s era penny tile, which we dug up in hopes of finding the original heart pine floors. And we did, but they weren't salvageable, so we put down this antique white and black marble. I also had kept the kitchen walls painted white, and it was driving me crazy, so we recently added these stealth tiles to the backsplash to give it a little bit of character. By nature, I'm a minimalist. I am married to a maximalist, so I think you can see the marriage in our house, that he comes in and he adds some layers. Jack is in charge very much of our artwork, and he helps to add that layered look sometimes to our rooms. I don't like gratuitous stuff. I don't like tchotchkes. I don't like things sitting out just to sit out. I like everything to have a purpose. Even though my world is aesthetics, everything has to be utilitarianism in my house. Pink paints are really hard. I find that a lot of them lean to blue and they start to look like a nursery once they go on the walls. So to me, it was really important to find a pink that had a lot of brown in it. And ultimately, I couldn't find one that suited the space. So we have a custom mix that we used for the living and the dining room. And Jack is great because he was on board the whole time. He didn't bat an eye when I said we were gonna paint the house pink. This is our living room, and this was the first room that I was really excited to decorate when we bought the house. The portrait above the fireplace came out of Jack's childhood home, and the painter was a local artist in Charleston. Jack's mom, Amelia Handegan, is the designer of these 2 chairs as well as this sofa, and I am the lucky beneficiary of some of her early prototypes, and we have had them recovered in Schumacher's Barnet linen. This is our primary bedroom, and this is a really special room in our house. It has the 2 French doors that open up to the piazza. A really prized piece in our bedroom is this sculpture, which is the Frederick It List Award from last year. This room gets really fantastic morning light, so I wanted to keep the colors in here fairly neutral and light, so everything in here is in a golden color scheme. And I had this fabric made into a bed hanging at the back of this canopy bed. And I did want to have a canopy, but I wanted to keep it light, so I've used this really delicate wool sheer as the canopy and added this fringe to the base of it. My husband and I are big book lovers. We don't have Kindles. We like the real deal. So we have this vast wall of books here, and having these 2 chairs and this table has made it really nice to read and to have coffee in the morning. I feel like antiques are easier to live with because they've already lived their lives. There's nothing too precious about them because they've already been used for 100 years, 200 years, what have you, and you're just adding to the story of the furniture. I can show you places where my daughter has graffitied Swedish demi-lunes, and those little quirks make me love everything a little bit more. Our house is never going to be perfect, and neither is the furniture. This is my daughter Hattie's room. One of the feature points of her bedroom are these mounted panels that were in my husband Jack's house growing up. One of my best auction finds was this sterling silver cup that has her initials HH on it, and she keeps her beloved colored pencils in. This chair was a ratty old linen chair that came out of Jack's college era apartment, and I have since had it slip covered so that it would be easy to throw in the wash when it inevitably gets stained. This is our piazza where we spend a lot of time. Charleston has really mild weather, so it's usable year-round. It's common for Charleston to have these slanted porches. That's for the rain runoff. We had to have the console back here custom built because the porch is so slanted. One leg is about 6 inches longer so that it would be level on the top. Since we really only have one living space and one dining space, this is a highly used area. We gather with our neighbors here on the stoop each day and spend a lot of time outside. I think it'd be so magical if in 60 years Hattie comes back to this house. She's gonna have the best memories of this house. I think it's really magical through her eyes, and I hope that she will come back and visit it, and one day she'll knock on the door and say, "Hey, I used to live here. Can I come see what's happened? I can give you a tour. I can tell you what my mom and dad did in this house," or "My mom was a designer in this house and here's how she had it." I think you're just adding to the history, and that's what's so magical about Charleston anyway.